Ladies and gentlemen, whenever you organize a large chess tournament with hundreds of the world's best players, there are bound to be some incredible brilliancies. And that is exactly what is happening at the 2025 Grand Swiss. Friendly reminder, this tournament is 11 games, and the top finishers go to the candidates tournament. And obviously, if you win the candidates, you then qualify to play for the World Championship. This is round 3. And I'm going to kick things off today with two absolute bangers of games, bludgeonings, if you will, some incredible chess from all over the top several boards of this event. It's going to be a blast. All right, here we go. That's the entire introduction, 40 seconds. We are going to keep a high energy. All right. We're going to kick things off with Yushin Song versus Vantika Agrawal. Both China and India are dominating chess at the moment, particularly women's chess. It's not even close. And neither was this game. These are two very, very strong players, but sometimes it just happens that you run into an absolute bulldozer. Yushin opens the game with e4. Vantika, experienced opponent, plays the French defense. We have what's called the tirage variation. Black plays c5. White plays knight f3. After c takes d4, white takes with the pawn here, queen takes, and bishop c4. I actually used to play this quite a bit with black. I would put my queen on d7, I would play a6, I put the queen on c7, put my bishop here, and develop my pieces like that. In this game, black goes queen d6, and the difference of queen d6 versus queen d7 is very subtle, but there is the extra, line that black can get the queen attacked. It's not the best move, but it, makes you do a little knight dance, because you were forked. Now knight to c6, and here Yushin plays c3. This is a gambit at this point. You are trying to get your opponent to take again, right? After taking here, to take one more time. White is gambiting with the hopes of getting an initiative, with the hopes of playing aggressive chess. Queen goes back to b6, white castles. Still, you are trying to get this to be taken. Vantika plays knight f6. We have a trade, we have rook to e1, and now black begins thinking. Because black does not remember the best move. The best move, though, she plays it. Bishop e7. Best move. Blocking the e-file. But the problem is that white is now going to get very easy play. Knight here. Bishop here. Queen here. White is down a pawn. But for it, black's king is in the middle. Black's pawn structure is compromised. And black's pieces will take longer to get settled and safe. So the knight goes to e4. Vantika now should play bishop to d7. She plays the second best move, which is rook to g8. Not going here, not preparing a castle, but saying, all right, I'm going to strike back. I'm going to make white think a little bit before she's going to attack me. Problem is that now it's a little bit too late. Now there's a lot of soft spots in the black position. h7 is just hanging, and then the rook would be hanging. f7 is hanging if the king ever moves. Now she plays bishop d7, but bishop f4 comes in, and black does get to castle, but it comes at a cost. Queen takes f7. Now this is under attack, and this is under attack, and this is under attack. And this is not under attack, but obviously the queen is ready to bulldoze the 7th rank. The only move in this position is the move e5. This kicks out this bishop. It's not very clear what the best move is after the move e5, but the best move is e5 followed by f5, just trying to create some counterplay. Vantika thinks for 14 minutes. For the record, Yushin, who started the game with 130, has not spent any time. Which means that she knew of this position. Like, in her preparation or her notes before the game, she knew that this type of thing was possible, and she knew that the best move was e5. Black goes rook f8, which is a move that is designed to kick out the queen, and it does kick out the queen. The problem is, it is a losing mistake. Can you believe it? This natural move kicking out the queen loses the game, because now the queen is more active than it was previously. And the problem is that now white's attack is borderline unstoppable. Black goes queen a5, offering a trade of queens. Yushin, thinking for the first time, avoids the trade of queens, brings the queen back. And now you have a moment in this position where you just pause, and you realize there is nothing you can do with black. Nothing. If you go e5, you lose a rook. If you go f5, I jump into the position. If you can't move these pawns, what do you move? You can't move the bishop, you can't move that bishop, you can't move the queen. If you take on c3, you're just helping me open up the position even more. It's a ridiculous position where every move black makes is a bad move. So she thinks and she plays rook e8, just trying to reinforce the position a little bit. White plays rook c1. This move doesn't even look like an attacking move. It is. You're going to very quickly remove these pieces, and the black king will not be able to run away to the corner. This is really a game of the threat is more powerful than the execution. Vantika plays queen f5, creating a threat against the bishop. The bishop just retreats. Officially, black is now out of moves that do anything. The queen rotates to g6. Maybe there is some counterplay. Remember why we played the move rook c1? Maybe it's to take on d4. Yeah, that's exactly why. Literally, that is exactly why. You cannot take this pawn attacking the queen because the bishop would move. It would be a discovered attack and you would lose. So you play f5. And the thing is, in chess, as a beginner, you look at this position and this is what you do. My knight is hanging. Okay. Can I go knight d6 check? I would get taken. Oh, but I can take back. Okay, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go knight to d6, bishop takes, and then you would blunder checkmate in one move. That is how your games would finish. You would not see, you would forget there is a battery over here. Yushin is one of the strongest women in the world, so instead of that, she says, my knight is hanging. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces attacking, black's king looking a little bit weak, bishop a6. You can take my knight, but then my queen will come in and you cannot stop the entire attack. f4, looking to deflect the bishop, it doesn't even matter, queen b5. This is now going to be a mate threat. You take the bishop, I sack my rook on c6, takes, the king is mercilessly hunted out of the corner, and the game ends with just the simple ladder mate, or queen c7. That is the type of recap we are going to have. Absolutely ridiculous win for Yushin Song. Now I got more games for you. Let's go check in on our boy Gukesh, okay? World champion, starting out with 1.5 out of 2. He's playing against Daniel Yufa. By the way, notice how many Russian grandmasters don't play there anymore. Like we had a Slovenian yesterday, Demchenko. We had Chigayev, Spain, Yufa, Spain, Feraseyev, Slovenia, right? There's others. Alexienko, I think, now plays for Austria. d4, d5. Now, in this game, Yufa showed up and was like, world champion? More like schmorled schmampion. I'm going to gambit a pawn. I'm playing this kind of opening, gambiting a pawn on c4. Black goes bishop d7. And Gukesh is just like, all right, well, b5. You're not going to take my pawn. a6. Gukesh took the pawn on c4 in this Rogozin variation, and Yufa didn't win it back. And now we have this. Now we have e5. Now, this is attacking a pin piece, so Gukesh has to strike back. And after pawn takes, rook g8. This is a very important position. Gukesh, by the way, has played every move instantly, basically. White here has to play with the g-pawn. You either play g4 followed by h4, or you play g3 with the idea that the knight would be able to move over here. So the key is to move the g-pawn. Yufa mixes something up. Instead of playing g4, g3, or h3, he mixes the ideas and plays h4, and quite literally loses the game within the first hour. Now, if I was playing with black, that doesn't, Yufa would not have lost the game, but it's the world champ. Gukesh thrives in these dynamic positions. He's a very, very good calculator. He puts the pawn on g4. Yufa goes here. That was his idea. Gukesh takes the pawn on g7. Yufa tries to now stabilize the position a little bit. Yeah, Gukesh, absolutely ruthless. e5, hitting the middle, opening the bishop to defend the pawn. Yufa goes here. Pawn takes d4. Now Yufa just straight up sacrifices the knight. Look at this. Look at this. He's just giving up the knight completely. It's kind of like poker. Gukesh just calls the bluff. He literally thinks for 2 minutes. He's like, I have no idea what this guy is doing. Pawn takes b5. Pawn takes b5. Yufa plays rook e1 check. The bishop goes back to play defense. And white is completely winning. You trade. Queen a3. Absolutely ruthless from Gukesh, who only after 20 moves goes down below an hour. Now it's just about precision, stabilizing everything. No infiltration. Yufa still sacrificing pieces. Knight f6, rook e5. But instead of playing like Mikhail Tal, he was playing like Tikhail Mal. There's just not enough here. You just don't have enough pieces. Rook e6, queen e6, and Gukesh is just up a rook. And let me tell you something. He's the world champ, and when he's going to be up a rook, It's going to make things even easier. The king just escapes on g7. The white bishop unable to fight at all. h6 check is possible, but the pawn goes down and the king is just safe. The king is just absolutely safe here. King g6, bishop g7, no more checks, and Yufa resigns. This really felt like a game where, like, I think there was almost a nervous energy from white. I would never dare say that because I'm a very nervous player, but I almost feel like Yufa kind of wanted to take Gukesh's head off. Just like, not like a disrespect or anything like that. I think he just really came into this game. He was just like, I want to get into a crazy, I'm gonna crush him. It's gonna be a firefight with my fists. And Gukesh was just like cool, calm, and collected. And the problem in these positions is it hangs on a knife's edge. And if you fall off the knife's edge first, you will get chopped. Damn, Levy, you are spitting in today's recap. Not literally. Yeah, and Gukesh, just absolute monster performance, wins a beautiful game. Now, Firouzja versus Parham Maksulu. This is a very interesting game. All right. So, I'm not sure these guys have played a classical game against each other. Yeah, I mean, you can probably look it up. But the thing is, yeah, oh, no, they have, I think, Tata Steel. They probably played in Tata Steel. Yes, maybe they have played one game. And the reason for that is, well, they're both from Iran. Firouzja used to represent Iran before moving to France. So technically, you know, in another world, they would be teammates. Boards 1 and 2. Now, this game was very, very complicated. It was a Najdorf Sicilian. And the interesting thing about this is that it went to a line where black set everything up the way he should. And now here from the opening, yeah, you know, it's more so like b5, knight d7, and Parham played a5. So Parham played a new kind of idea, obviously trying to play like this. White commits to a4, but now black loses control of certain squares in the position, and it almost feels a bit counterintuitive, but the idea is to put the knight here, and then obviously to put the knight on b4 because white also lost control of certain squares. And Firouzja now plays the best move, f4, creating some potential attacking ideas on this side, rook c8, and now he traded, and very correctly, by the way, very correctly here from Firouzja, he traded and sent the game to an endgame. And the thing is, in the Najdorf, you know, black likes to attack on the queen side, but now you're not getting any attack. And now, rook d8 is the mistake. Firouzja should have just taken the knight on a6. And then he had a very cool idea. If Firouzja had played bishop takes, pawn takes, and this idea, bishop c5, looking to trade the dark squared bishops here with ideas of the back rank, you might be looking like, wait, what, isn't this just, yeah, but at the end I have rook d8. So the reason this is so good is black just has weaknesses throughout the game. Like there's a world in which you get this endgame, which is horrendous, right, for black because of the pawn structure. But Firouzja took the rook first, and that's a mistake. Instead, bishop a6 and bishop c5 was the right idea. Instead, we get this, and now there is no bishop c5. You just have this, but black is actually very happy here with various ideas against white, and also black has the bishop pair, and the position was equal. It was a very dynamic, like, kind of late middle game, as Firouzja's trying to, you know, promote his 3-on-1 over here. But the problem for, you know, for white is this majority is going to start running 2, and Parham, he starts moving much faster. So bishop comes to b3, and now, I mean, look at this position. I mean, you take two young guys who are ready for a fight, it's going to be very complicated, but this is terrifying. Terrifying position for Firouzja. Both guys in a time scramble. Now it's pure bishops versus knights. He does win the pawn back, but this knight is a little bit stuck. And after this move, there's rook h8, and suddenly out of nowhere, the white king is a huge weakness. How did that happen? It's what happens when you play a very dynamic endgame. Knight back to f2, bishop c5, rook d7, king g6. Firouzja has to make one more move to survive. Rook b7, and he plays it. Bishop f2, rook b3. The problem is, now you enter the next phase of the game, and black is just pressuring. And Firouzja blunders, going for a tactical complication. This is actually kind of crazy. His pawn was hanging, and the idea rook b8, take, rook f8 check, was the mechanism to hold the draw, because then the rook would play defense on the pawns, and the knight would try to win this pawn. Firouzja goes for tactics, perhaps a little bit desperate, thinking that you can't take this. Parham thinks for 20 minutes and is like, I don't get it. What am I missing? Nothing. Nothing. I think Firouzja miscounted something here. He must have thought that his knight and pawns were connecting. But yeah, the key is this move, rook d7. Rook d7 is genius. The thing is, you know, if you play rook b7, my idea is c5. But rook d7 cuts off the king from ever getting closer, and now I am permanently threatening to push this pawn. It's this rook d7 move. And knight b4 looking for c5, c6, b7, I win the race. Knight back to d3. Now my king gets closer to the pawns. Rook d8, stepping out of the way. King d6, rook e8. The pawns are there, but so is my king. Firouzja gives away his rook, thinking that he's going to win the race. But this move, rook d7, is a cold shower, and Parham has 3 out of 3. He just defeated Alireza Firouzja. My man is cooking. I got more games for you. Arjun Evergaisi. I'm gonna pop over to this one first. Abhimanyu Mishra is playing this tournament. If you don't know who Abhimanyu Mishra is, he's the youngest grandmaster of all time. He got it when he was just 6 years old. Can you believe it? Don't, because I'm lying. He got it when he was 12. This time I'm not lying. He was 12. He broke the previous record. He's been a bit up and down since then. He's trying to, push through 2600s. Not easy. But in this tournament, he started very well in the previous round. He defeated Alexis Sarana, by the way, another Russian grandmaster, now playing for Serbia. I mean, you talk about the exodus of Russian GMs. It's completely crazy how many of them now represent somewhere else. Now in the third round, he's playing Yangi, top 3 player in China for the last, literally, I don't know, probably like 10 years. I mean, maybe even more. Only Wei Yi and Ding Liren above him. Wei Yi playing the opening that he plays all the time, the Petrov defense. Knight c3, pawn c3. Abhimanyu going for a classical variation, knight f6. This line has been played many, many times. There's another line where black plays c5 and bishop e6, but okay, he plays bishop g4, bishop g5. Both guys are in their preparation. Wei Yi might be slightly out of it, but I mean, this opening is the bread and butter that he knows very well. And in this opening, because of the opposite side castling, quite literally, the only idea that white has is to attack the king. Like, that is an over-exaggeration, but it's also not. I mean, if you're gonna, attack here, you're kind of an idiot. Yeah, you gotta build up the position over here. Rook g1, obviously, right? Queen e6, attacking the pawn on a2. Now, here, you would think king b1 in a, without even thinking. I think the move g5 was either missed or what I think more likely was underestimated. Queen a2, obviously, the knight is hanging. So his idea was to go knight e4 and threaten queen a2, queen a1. The problem is that after pawn... king b1. The problem is that after pawn takes h6, queen a2, there was knight back to trade off this knight and, more importantly, to go defend the king. And actually, Abhimanyu was winning. But he played king b1. He played a little bit more solid, so now he will have to patiently build up his attack again. But like I said, this is the only idea, right? Queen e4. Well, if you want to attack a guy, you can't trade the queens. Rook g4, or the rooks. So he's keeping all his pieces on the board, but black obviously is close to equalizing and launching his own counterplay. Queen d1, b6, a3, and now... Yangi is like, why did he give me this pawn? And I don't exactly know what was missed here. But after this move, f4, which completely just sacrifices a bishop, but deflects the rook from the defense of the queen, white is winning. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. I don't know. This is so unnecessary. He could have done a lot of moves. Could have played queen e6, a5, a6, queen h5. Rook g7 doesn't work because the queen is defended by the rook, but f4 just wins the game. Because now you threaten rook g7, and if rook f5, rook h1 traps the queen. Yangi blundering, and Abhimanyu Mishra is up a queen against the Chinese number 3. It's just about winning the game now. He just has to hold his nerves together. He's like, what the... I'm beating Yangi. I'm beating him. This is unbelievable. And now he's going to bring in his queen. He just has to get to a winning endgame. Maybe Yangi is going to hold a fortress, a defensive line where you're not going to be able to break through. Abhimanyu's got to walk his king, bro. He's got to start walking the king in. You got to play king a4, king b5. Or maybe not. Maybe you're just going to get it. Oh, there it is. There it is. The king's going for the walk. Yes, yes, yes. That's exactly what we need on the line squares. We got to trade one pair of the rooks, and then we're going to win this game. You might even be able to trade the rook for the bishop. He's gonna get the trade. Oh, there it is. He's gonna get the trade. He's gonna win the pawn. Rook b7 and queen d7, and he's gonna trade the rook. There it is, and now he's winning because the one rook is not gonna be able to defend against the queen or the 750 extra pawns, and Abhimanyu Mishra is 2.5 out of 3. Yo, he's playing for first place. He just beat Svane and Yangi. He's up 13.5 FIDE rating points. Incredible stuff. Epic stuff. Another young guy who is having the tournament of his life is, as an American would say, Simon Gumularz. And in Polish, it's probably something like Szymon Gumularz, something like that. I don't know. But bro has a Z in the first name and the last name, which is pretty epic. Now, he's playing against Oparin, by the way, also former Russian Grandmaster. This is kind of like a wild running inside joke at this point. He's now playing for the US. He's also Fabiano Caruana's training partner and friend, and probably friend before training partner. I don't know. E5. And Gumularz just... Yo, look, in the previous game that I showed you, it was a slow build-up. In this game, because of the line that Oparin played, which is very clearly designed to provoke white into aggression, you know, white is down 20 minutes on the clock, and Oparin just doesn't take the right approach after the opening. I mean, white just gets, like, an amazing... He seals the center. He doesn't castle. He sets this up, and even though... Obviously, this is not capturable. Even though it doesn't look that convincing, the defense for black here is very hard. After rook d8, the defense is untenable. You're not going to be able to defend yourself again. You're gambiting this, but gambiting. You're not gambiting the knight because anyway, queen g6, and your attack is too strong. And what happens is Gumularz just brings the king forward, defends his center. Rook g1 is incoming, and there's the breakthrough. He's going to trade the knight. He's going to trade the rook. He's completely winning. Like king e4. Yeah, maybe with perfect play, black can defend himself, but the space advantage and the weakness of black's position is not easy at all. Rook f3, rook here. This is weak. This is weak. This is weak. You're probably going to lose every single king and pawn endgame. Not an easy position to defend at all, and you just can't make a move. Rook g6 is coming. Rook g2, waiting for black to make a move, and at some point there's going to be a breakthrough. There it is. Look at that. That's unbelievable. You can take with check. It doesn't even matter because rook d6, e6, a6 whenever you wanted to weaken the position. Look at this. Look at this game from Gumularz. 2 pawns in the center. Rook c7, e7, rook g7, rook g8, d7, a mix of all these moves. King f5, king e6. Gumularz also has 2.5 out of 3. He just beat Jonas Bier, who's from Denmark. And in the first round, he drew Sargsyan. He's 2590. He's also up a bunch of rating points. He's got 2.5 out of 3. So both young guys are absolutely cooking. They're steamrolling. Hans Neiman had a very funny game. So Hans was playing against Rasmus Svane, who I played recently on my live events tour. This game is going to have a recap of like 30 seconds. So it was a Tarrasch defense. White got the 2 bishops. Okay, now white traded off the 2 bishops. And in this game, white was playing against the weak pawn and the doubled pawns. That is either going to be a fatal disadvantage for black, or black is going to defend himself. And for the next 30 moves, and I do mean 30 moves, the guys did nothing. Hans was poking at the position. He was trying to reposition his knight, his rook, his queen in different ways. He was trying to trade in an advantageous way. There we go. Rook and knight. Black's position is a little bit weak. Black brought his king, playing defense. You know, typical German positional chess. You know, knight a6, knight c5. Hans is moving around. Black is moving around. At some point, the advantage was completely gone. And, you know, rook f6, rook f5, rook g1. I mean, bro, he went rook. He brought his rook from the most active position to freaking g2 to move the knight to try to play f3. I mean, right? And then he did. And then he went b4. And then the knight stumbled into the white position, and suddenly the initiative came and black's pieces were totally out of whack. So Hans basically just played really fast, right? Look, 21 minutes for Rasmus, who then tanked a lot of time and got into time trouble. and blundered the game away. Just straight up, like, Hans stewed him. He just put ingredients in the pot, and then he just kind of like moved them, or he stewed him. Like, that's what he was trying to, the fire was simmering. And very slowly, Hans won the game. He just won the game. Like, this was the recap of the whole game. I have more fun games, though, okay? So I was going to give you Erigaisi, right? Erigaisi versus Demchenko. The thing about these tournaments is that you're going to have these great stories like Demchenko, who started really well, like Mishra, like Gumularz, right? And then what's going to happen is they're going to run into these absolute murderers like Erigaisi, and they're going to have to keep their level. Black playing a Petrov defense. This is top-level chess, so, nobody's going to have an advantage. It's going to be like a high-level kickboxing mixed martial arts fight when everybody's booing, but the, high-level fans don't, they don't boo because they kind of know that, like, there's really high-level stuff going on. A little bit of an imbalanced position. White trying to establish, a central outpost with pressure. Positions equal. Erigaisi is not able to get the type of position that he wants, which is complete madness on the board, but he's still going to try to put some pressure. He does put some pressure successfully, and then before you know it, Erigaisi is almost winning. Bishop to e5, he has to take that. Knight e5, rook e5, rook f2, and now he should just go pawn to b5, and he finds it. Pawn takes, take on d5 with a check. Now you have to coordinate an attack. Rook here, Erigaisi makes a mistake. He instead plays rook d6, and before you know it, all of the advantage is gone. So now you got to re-win this game. So now Erigaisi is trying to just win the game with one pawn. That's the only chance he has. Rook a4, and black split king c7. The point being that after knight b5 check, you take, knight a7 check, you lose your rook, but it's actually a draw. Demchenko doesn't play that move. Now rook b4 is winning for Erigaisi. He plays it, king c8, rook b7 here, and now you either go rook e7 or king d2. Both are slightly strange moves. He goes king c4, he tries to be active. That's completely wrong, apparently. And now black is drawing the game with some sort of knight h7 and knight f6, trying to get the knight into the game. Rook d1, also fine. But rook d1 and rook c1, and now you have to get the knight into the game. And you can do that by sacrificing it, apparently, which is... Knight e6 is literally the move, which is unbelievable. I don't even understand why, because rook b1, and it's a draw because the king has to stay defending the pawn. So yeah, knight e6 is the drawing move. Rook e7, one final trick. Knight to d8, c7. Rook c4 is a losing move because of knight b5. And I think he thought that after rook c6, king a5, it's a draw. It's not. Arjun Erigaisi runs the king back this way. There are no more checks. Knight a7, knight d6, game over. Knight d6 is mate, by the way. And if you play rook c6, I would fork you. And then I would promote. Erigaisi getting it done by the skin of his teeth. Another player who got it done by the skin of his teeth against the legend, Boris Gelfand. Played for the World Championship against Anand. Pragnananda, it's a Catalan. Boris Gelfand is a modern-day godfather of positional chess. Bishop to g2, queen c2, very positional game. Prague tries to play this in a very aggressive way with f5, looking for kind of a stonewall structure. The problem with this type of game is that this is absolutely bread and butter of a positional genius like Gelfand, who's going to put the knight on f4, and then c5, and then knight c3. Like, Prague can't get anything going. This is old man chess. I'm not insulting that. I'm just saying, like, this is like the type of chess you have to play against these young, fiery dudes. Prague has nothing now. So he's going to have to exercise his patience as... at this point, like Gelfand, he can play a4, he can play b4, he can also just do nothing. He can just, and this is great. This is Prague trying to, get things going. Queen g7, h5, maybe f4, g4. There it is. He secures his own square. h5, very nice. And Gelfand sensing that Prague is going to create some play, so he's got to create his play on the other side of the board. Game is hanging in the balance. Now the game is opening up a little bit. The center is completely locked, right? But the sides are opening up. Rook b2, look at this cannon Gelfand is setting up. But Prague is defending it with 19 points of material. 38 points of material are pointing in one direction. Ridiculous. h4, but Gelfand is totally safe. Knight g3, very nice blockade. Guy's getting low on time. No repetition here. Rook h7, bishop h5, very tense. Center is still completely deadlocked. Bishop e8, king f8, queen h4. And at some point, the center is going to have to open up. There's going to be just simply no way. Bishop d3, rook h5. There it is. Now the position's opening up on two flanks. Prog still has eyes here. Queen h4. Knight g5. Take. Oh. Check. And again, a declined repetition. So at this point, rook h2 was played. Check here. Here. Check. And it's Boris Gelfand declining the repetition. Rook g2. Probably, you know, it's a draw. Right? I mean, this position already happened. This was 1, 2, and I mean, I don't know, maybe Prog himself would have declined. No, he has literally no choice. Queen h4, I don't know. And now we have a queen and rook endgame. This is craziness. Rook g2, queen h4, queen h3, queen e1, and Boris needed to start pushing his pawn, giving up the pawn, putting his queen here, but he plays rook g3, and that is a losing mistake. That is a losing mistake. That is a losing mistake. Because you get pinned, and I think Gelfand played this move with 1 second on the clock. Hence the 30 seconds. And now he's losing. He gets some bonus time here, but this is, or I don't know what happened there, but I don't know why he went up to 10 minutes. I guess that's the bonus time. But he is losing because of e2 check and rook e3. And there you go. Rook e3. Can't take, promotion, king e1, take, d3, d2, game over. Here, g6, d3, g7, queen. Prog wins again. I think Prog is, yeah, he's also 2.5 out of 3. Nodjerbek versus Puranik. Nodjerbek played e3 and then everybody started laughing. There's a clip of this. He plays the move e3. Kind of a funny first move. Looks like a mouse slip. The game very quickly became a Kali. Bishop d3, bishop b2. And it's not like a super crazy game. He had this position to work with. He was trying to make progress, as you see. He was trying to make progress for quite some time. And then, you know, Puranik was actually the one that could have kept doing nothing. But, you know, the key idea of the black position is obviously to break. He does it at the wrong moment. But the position was still equal. Nice idea here, b4. And then for reasons I can't quite comprehend, Puranik moved his very nice knight, which defended the middle, out of the way. He could have played like 6 other moves. He went knight d8. And this one move allowed queen c4, which stops queen knight c6 completely. And now if the knight comes back, you lose this pawn. So he had to go here, and he lost the pawn. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe he felt he was already under pressure. Maybe he just forgot about this move. Now he can't get his knight here. This is under attack. And he ends up losing the pawn, and, well, Nodjerbek is very good. He's also very good when he's a pawn up. So he trades off the material. I don't think he converted it, like, 100% perfectly, but he, you know, went to an endgame, which is what you should do, and then he put his knight here, and then he won, because this pawn is too strong. You glue the rook, and then you just bring your king, and black runs out of moves. Black just runs out of moves. Rook a5, king moves, take, rerun, f5. Nodjerbek wins again. I think he also has 2.5. Yep, 2.5 out of 3. A player who's just continuing to absolutely, like, Vaishali showed up to this tournament like, I'm going to absolutely eviscerate everybody that I play. Her opponent, Badelka, plays a Pierce defense. Vaishali closes the center, and black tries to get counterplay. Vaishali just like a queen d1, hitting the knight, counterattack with f4, and set up an attack with g4 incoming. At some point it will, or maybe not, or maybe yes. There it is. 40 seconds on the clock for her, by the way. She's doing this with 40 seconds. She's complicating the game. Black takes the pawn in the middle. That's a losing move. Because after takes, you sack the rook. And the point is, if you take knight g6, pawn takes, and queen h4. Mate, basically, you have to sack your queen. So Vaishali continues her destruction and demolition, demolishing the black king, sacrificing tons of material, rook h5, all sorts of winning ideas here. Rook g8, brutal, double rook sack in the same game. And Vaishali has 3 out of 3. She is in first place. Monster start for her, granted against mostly 2370s. In fact, only 2370s. She played 2372, 2377, and 2375. In the Open, I don't believe there is a single person with 3 points. Parham's the only person that has 3 points. And then it's Mishra, Gumularz, Gukesh, Prague, Nodjerbek, Eric IC, guys that I have covered every single recap. And then there's a monster line of 2s. So these 2s are going to try to get to 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Folks, hope you're enjoying the coverage. Friendly reminder, leaderboard's coming to Chessly in a day. Check that out. Team USA versus India in less than a month. Check that out. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.